Hi, and welcome to this little screencast here. This is Pontus, and Doran has asked me to prepare a little screencast for you because I am trying to transfer my Ancient World class, my 9th grade history class, this upcoming year into a blended course. So it will not follow the traditional model, but instead will be a blended course for my 9th grade students. So the first question then is why blend? Why try this? Well, the way I see it, there are a couple of different reasons why. First of all, as Doran has already told you, blending can combine some of the best practices that we have of face-to-face learning as well as online learning. So I will not get rid of some of the things that I think work very well in the classroom. But I might try to move some things out of the classroom that I think can be done online in an equal or perhaps even better fashion than they were done in the classroom. It offers flexibility. It provides a teacher different means of delivering instruction. It offers a teacher a lot of different tools to reach a variety of learners. So that's another thing that I'm excited about. Another thing that I think is here to stay, and something that whether or not we like it or not, it's here, and that is that it teaches some students or teaches students skills that they'll need in college. No matter what college you go to, most colleges these days, even the Ivies, even some of the very prestigious universities, had their students take online classes. That's just a fact of the matter, and I think that we need to prepare our students with the skills to take these classes in a successful manner once they leave St. Catherine's. Another thing that there's been a fair amount of research on this, and this is another thing that I'm excited about, is that online learning can sometimes help quiet students to kind of find their voice and find their personality in the class. As we all know, most of our girls do a great job participating in class, but there's always a few students who do not like to participate as much as others. And there's been an increasing amount of research that has shown that a lot of these students do quite well in online discussions and in an online learning environment. So if we can combine some of those elements of online learning with the classroom learning, it might make it easier for these students to feel at home in our classes, and make it easier for these students to feel comfortable and to be successful in our classes. So if I look at my own class and this Ancient World class, which is a 9th grade class, and one of the first things that I did this summer is to look, what will I move online? What aspects of my class can I try to move online and make sure that students are able to learn as efficiently online as they would in the classroom. So there are a couple of different things here. First of all, content delivery. I've already done this during the past couple of years with screencast. Sometimes it's instead of covering some just basic historical content, I'll move that content online. I'll give my students a screencast to watch for homework instead of me delivering that in class. So that's one thing that I'll continue to do. Another thing that I do quite often in my classes are short writing assignments. I'll give them a prompt, and students have to respond in that prompt. Sometimes these writing assignments are really short, 5-10 minutes, sometimes a little bit longer, 20, 25, 30 minutes. That's another thing. They work quite independently. They don't work with one another. They do it by themselves. So this is another thing that I think could work quite well in an online setting outside of the classroom. Some primary source analysis will also be another thing that I'll move online. We'll do some of it in class, but sometimes I'll give my students a link to a primary source, and they'll have to compose an analysis of that source on their own. And then, of course, in class, maybe the next day or whenever the next time is that we meet, we'll go over this primary source to make sure that we integrate the online learning with the learning in the classroom, and to make sure that all the students have understood the primary source correctly, and that we get all kinds of different interpretations covered, and that each student can see the variety of interpretations that can be offered. So that's another thing that I'll do. And then lastly, I'll move some of the class discussions online. I love class discussions. They're a huge part of my classroom, and I do not want to give up that in a face-to-face environment. But some of the discussions I'll move online. And again, it kind of goes back to what I said a couple of minutes ago about the fact that there are some students that do not participate as much in these online discussions, in the classroom discussions, and the online discussions might make it a little bit easier for them to participate. The other student that might benefit from this is the student that sometimes takes a little bit longer to process material, and sometimes takes a little bit longer to kind of come up with an answer or a viewpoint or whatever it might be. And sometimes, despite our best intentions as teachers, we might not wait enough for those students, and we might not give those students enough time to kind of get their thoughts together and present the viewpoint that they might want to do. An online environment in which they can take a little bit more time, they can reflect a little bit longer, can provide some more space for these students. That's not to say, of course, that it's not of value to teach our students to think quickly and to think on their feet, but this will be the online version, the online component, it will be a nice complement. So then lastly, what tools will I use? Well, screencasts is obviously one big tool. This is evident here as you're seeing right now. I will also use Haiku as my learning management system, as my learning platform. I received a free 1-year subscription to Haiku, so this is, I've started to build it. It doesn't look like much right now. But this is what kind of the interface of my class, online component of my class will look like. And I can show you an example of what a more advanced version of Haiku looks like. This is the Introduction to Blended Learning, which is an online class that I took a couple of months ago. And this is assignment 3.3, creating community online. So they have a little introduction here about what this assignment is going to be about. They have a number of different sources that we as students were required to read, and then lastly they had a discussion board, which this was done in small group discussions. So there were, I think, three of us that were partnered together because we were all history teachers. And then we all had to post something, and we had to respond to one another's posts. And again, I like this interface, and this is where I can see hopefully my students being successful in using this online discussion board quite successful. So that's Haiku. And then if we go back to the last thing that I'll use quite extensively is VoiceThread. I've already used that in the past. And if you don't know what VoiceThread is, it's basically you can upload a PowerPoint, and then you can kind of narrate that PowerPoint if you wish. So welcome to this VoiceThread. It's going to be a little bit different from your normal screencast. So that's the beginning of my narration of these slides, and as I move through these slides, then at the end of the slides, last slide, I ask a question, and then I have my students answer these questions. These symbols here and sometimes pictures are all my students from last year, where they offered some kind of answer to these questions. So in essence, that's it. That's how I'm trying to approach this blended learning experience, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of interesting things happening, but I'm willing to give this a try, and I'm hopeful that it'll be successful.